With that, I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Fred Upton.
The gentleman from Michigan is recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that Iraq has been on all of our minds for a long, long time. And many of us here have visited Iraq on multiple occasions. Many of us have also visited Bethesda Naval Hospital as well as Walter Reed and tried to comfort our brave and caring servicemen and women. And yes, many of us have grieved with the families that have lost a loved one at a gravesite back in our districts. Mr. Speaker, we had a breakthrough this week in North Korea. It was a diplomatic success. And our country led the effort to engage other countries in the region: Russia, South Korea, Japan, and China. The six-party talks helped see a negotiated settlement that made sense, and the world today is a better and safer place. Diplomacy won again. Now, one of our big problems in Iraq is that we've not pursued the diplomatic angle like we should have. We haven't seen a diplomatic surge like we ought to. Let's talk about this resolution. The first finding, of course, is that the Congress and the public will continue to support and protect those serving in Iraq. That tells me that we're not going to cut off the aid for the people, the brave folks that are there. It's almost a daily routine for me when I see a man or woman in uniform at the airport, the cafeteria, at home, anywhere, Bethesda, Walter Reed Hospital, that I take a moment and thank them for their sacrifice and their service. Our troops need all of the equipment to make sure that their safety can be as secure as it can be. This week I emailed a number of our troops that I've met that are overseas. I talked about this resolution, including the policy of the surge, and many of them responded at length, and I want to share part of their stories and responses without using their names. One of my Army captains said this: bringing in more Americans will force us into more confrontational roles. This is not the way to win. More American soldiers on the ground will not win the war. It will only delay the enemy's reaction. If the people do not believe that their government can protect them, they will look for one that they believe will. Mr. Speaker, these folks are on the ground. They know what's going on. The generals on the ground, too, said that more U.S. troops would be counterproductive and, in fact, only increase or deepen the threats on our U.S. troops. Let's face it, this is a civil war. It is real anarchy. And, in fact, the Iraqis don't want us there. Nearly 80% of them in Baghdad say that the American troops provoke more violence than they prevent. And these same polls show that Iraqis overwhelmingly want U.S. troops gone within a year. In fact, we know that a majority on both sides, Shia and Sunni, believe that it's okay to kill our troops. So much for being a liberator. In other words, we're viewed as part of the problem, not the solution. Mr. Speaker, all of us support our troops, but there are many of us that believe that this surge strategy will fail and will only prolong the day that the Iraqis will finally pick up the baton and lead their own government. The Baker-Hamilton unanimous bipartisan report labeled the situation as grave and deteriorating. It called for regional cooperation and a new direction. Mr. Speaker, I'm one that believes that the vote authorizing the war was based on evidence that was flat out wrong. Let's not continue to ignore the real situation and the mistakes of the past. It is time for the Iraqis, not the United States, to lead after 4 years. We need to send a message to our troops that, yes, we support them, and for this administration, a signal for them to pursue a diplomatic surge involving the region. For these reasons, I, too, support the resolution, and I yield my time back to the gentleman from North Carolina.